Welcome back to MBD Studios. I am Mr. Blue Dot. I play games, I make things. And today I am bringing you a Magic the Gathering Arena deck building video. So I like Mutation decks. I have for a while now, and last month I was able to get to Mythic on a black and blue Mutation deck. It was a modified version of the Mutation Station deck that they gave away for free. I beefed it up. Now, I'm not going to be showing that deck today. The deck I am going to be showing, you can see here in the background being played against some guy named the Jolly Blue Giant, which I found pretty amusing. Now, I was hoping for a more exciting match, Dot versus a Giant, sort of a David versus Goliath thing, but sadly he wasn't playing all that smart and I ended up winning. Today's deck is a black and green mutation deck called Scute Mute that I've built all around the 4 Scute swarms that are inside the deck. You can see me here going through my cards, and you'll notice that there are a bunch of 1 mana, pretty much throwaway creatures that I can throw out. But the ideal thing for me is to have a creature out on the first turn, to be able to throw down a land and throw down something, preferably something with Death Touch, because that sort of gives your opponent a pause before attacking you outright. You can also see that I have a few solutions in here for extra mana generation, like the Tangled Florahedron, the Elysian Caryatid, however that's pronounced. That way on turn 2, if I have an ideal draw, I can usually have a extra mana out on the battleground. So the interesting parts of this deck, or the main components of this deck, are the Scute swarms, which, if you don't know, the Scute is a landfall creature that creates a copy of itself if you have 6 or more lands out and you throw another land down. The cool thing about that is if you mutate that Scute before you throw a land down, then the extra copies will also be mutated. So that makes for some really powerful combinations that you can throw out onto the board. Your Scute swarm does not need to be made up of all 1/1 creatures. Right here you can see what I consider to be an ideal first hand. We have a swamp, we have a forest, we have a 1 mana creature that we can throw out quickly, the mama right there that I'm throwing out. And there at the very end of my hand you can see the Elysian Caryatid. How do you pronounce that? The tree thing. I'll be able to play that on my next turn. Right now it looks like my opponent only has these combination lands which have to be tapped when they're thrown out, so it doesn't look like he has a whole lot going on with his hand. In my experience, most red-blue decks are pretty spell heavy. They have interesting creatures in them, but not always too lethal. While my deck, on the other hand, has a variety of hard-hitting and extremely lethal creatures, combos, and mutations that I can get out onto the battleground. So my opponent throws out another land and doesn't do anything else. Here I actually make a mistake. Instead of throwing the Scute swarm out, I throw out Roiling Regrowth, which you sacrifice a land and then you can put 2 more lands on the battlefield tapped. I forgot that they were tapped. That's my excuse anyway. When I use this card, I usually pick 1 of each of my colors, keep it even. But what I should have done was thrown out my Scute swarm this turn, and then on my next turn I should have used my Roiling Regrowth, because that would have given me 2 token creatures. My opponent throws out a mountain and does nothing else. I don't know what's going on over there. Valaged Recovery, this card I'm showing off right here. It's a good card to keep in a green deck. It's a cheap, easy way to get, or to recover a creature card if you need to, and if you don't need to, it's a land. Right now I throw it down as a land. The reason I haven't thrown down my Scute swarm yet is because I'm worried that he has something in his pocket that will seriously mess that can kill my Scute swarm right off the bat. Had I been thinking about it, I would have thrown it out and used Bala Get Recovery instead to get it back. But no, what's done is done. I keep checking my graveyard to see what I got in there, because I also have a Boneyard Lurker, which is capable of getting cards back as well. My opponent finally played something there. That's Double Vision, which doubles up the instants, or doubles the targets for your instants when you cast them. I finally throw my Scute Swarm out, and I immediately follow it up with the Evolving Wilds. This is a nice combo because you get the 1 token for throwing the Evolving Wild down, and then you get another one for activating Evolving Wild's ability to bring in a new land. Because I had 6 lands, my last Scute Swarm duplication was a full-fledged Scute Swarm that can copy itself as well. But don't get too excited. My opponent plays Scorching Dragonfire here, and because of the double vision, he's able to actually not only kill both of my Scute Swarms, but exile them. Draw Brushwag, which it's an interesting card. Kind of takes people unnoticed at times. I play my Boneyard Lurker here because that allows you to return a card from the graveyard. But I've completely forgotten that Scorching Dragonfire exiles cards, and that my Scute Swarm will not be in my graveyard. And he blocked the mutation itself by killing the token I was trying to put it on, but that just allows your mutation to go out on the battlefield as if it is cast. So sometimes that's okay because the mutation cost is usually lower than the casting cost itself. But I mutate it with Chittering Harvester, and since I don't have my Scute Swarm, I just pull Evolving Wilds again. And I play it again. This way I have even more mana out on the field. Of course, the more lands I have, the better Beanstalk Giant is going to be when it comes his turn to come out and play too. So he draws 8 cards here. And I believe he has to discard because he doesn't, he doesn't have anything protecting his hand size. This guy did a lot of crazy stuff during this match. So another Chittering Harvester, but we throw down the Giant and just go ahead and attack with everything we have. He throws out this Spellgorger Weird here as kind of a, desperation tactic, but the Chittering Harvester will allow us to take care of it on our next turn. Whenever that turn comes, of course. He throws out a Spell Eater Wolverine as well. This kind of changes my tactic, but not too much. I was going to throw a Chittering Harvester on something else, but Instead, I throw it back onto the Chittering Harvester that's already out there, because this allows me to double up its mutations. So instead of sacrificing one creature, now he has to sacrifice two, because there's two Chittering Harvesters in that mutation stack. And he threw out an Opt, trying to beef up his Spell Gorge, weird as much as possible, but it doesn't matter because I'm not doing damage. He's sacrificing it himself. And that is game. So I wasn't able to get my Scute swarm off, but because I had enough mutations in my deck and hands, I was able to switch my tactics up very easily when I needed to. I had big creatures to back them up. Overall, it was a very good game. Now, the deck does have some weaknesses. For instance, flying creatures can pose a problem, but we do have a few solutions built into the deck. On the black side of the deck, we have Eliminate and Murder, as well as Chittering Harvester that can be used to destroy creatures. Chittering Harvester gets a little complicated because you sort of have to force your opponent to sacrifice the creature that you want him to sacrifice. On the green side of the deck, we have Ram Through and Rabid Bite, which you can use to force one of your creatures to fight one of your opponent's creatures, even if that creature is flying. But if you play this deck right, you can get some big numbers and big combos out on the board. As you can see here, I got two Hydra's Growth stacked up on top of this Chittering Harvester, and my opponent just quit as soon as he saw the 52. If only he knew how worried I was about that Leafkin adventure. Another con to this deck is people quitting as soon as they see you throw out Scute Swarm. It happens. Maybe that's not a con for you. Take the easy win, I don't blame you. But I kind of like to play the game. I like to play Scute Swarm. Apparently, this guy didn't. And there he goes. I wasn't even able to get Roiling Regrowth off. And that's what I'm going to leave you with today. If you found any of this helpful, if you found something useful here, please subscribe and like, because I plan on making a lot more Magic the Gathering content here in the future. I'm going to have more deck building videos, I'm going to do some pack opening videos, I'm going to do some play videos, and we'll see where things go. Until next time, guys, have a good one.